In this lesson, we are going to talk about how data can tell a story. Okay, and the first thing that we're going to look at is an article by The Pudding called How Many High School Stars Make It in the NBA. And I will have this link in the Schoology assignment, so if you want to go look at it on your own, you're more than welcome to. All right, this was written by Russell Goldenberg and Amber Thomas in February of 2019. So, every year the top high school basketball recruits get hyped up. How often do they pan out? Remember NBA great Donnell Harvey? Neither do we. Despite being the #1 high school recruit in 2000, some of y'all probably weren't even born. Okay, something that you think would indicate future NBA stardom, he put together a meager career in the league, averaging around 5 points per game over 5 years. On the flip side is LeBron James, the #1 high school recruit just a few years later. And we all know what he's been up to. The disparity got us thinking, are these top 100 recruit lists any indication of making it to the NBA, let alone becoming a star? It must be really hard to assess top talent when the pool is so large in high school. Now that we've entered the YouTube era, hype surrounding players can inflate in an instant. Sure, LeBron paved the way with some nationally televised games, but now millions of people are watching Zion Williamson throw down dunks in warm-ups or LaMelo Ball hit threes from half court in 8th grade. Let's take a look at just how far the high school stars of the past 20 years made it in their basketball careers. Below each circle is a player that ranked among the top 100 high school recruits in the U.S. according to the Recruiting Services Consensus Index. Wow, look at this visual. Okay, so this is kind of like a trickle-down effect. All right, let's replay it. So they all start being ranked. These are the top 100 ranked athletes. They all trickle down. 98% of them played in college. Okay? From that trickle down, 29% were drafted. And then from those drafted, 27% spent less than 2 years in the NBA. From that number, trickled down, 25% were below average, 11% were mediocre, 4% were great, and 2% became superstars. So you have LeBron James. Oh, let me scoot this over, because whenever you hover over these bubbles, you get more information. Okay, so we have LeBron James. No. Down here, and then we have Draymond Green. Don't know who that is, but I also don't know a lot about basketball. Okay, I know LeBron James because he is definitely a superstar. Okay, so high school rank #1, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. High school rank #2, Rashard Lewis, Carmelo Anthony. That sounds familiar. Kevin Durant. That sounds familiar. Kevin Love, John Wall. DeMarcus Cousins. Chris Bosh, Chris Paul, Tayshaun Prince, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeAndre Jordan, Kemba Walker, Blake Griffin, James Harden. And honestly, Joe Johnson, that kind of sounds familiar, but I think somebody goes to my church with that name. Andre Iguodala, Kyle Lowry, Al Horford, Darren Williams, Kawhi Leonard. And, you know, because I really know nothing about basketball, it's not saying a whole lot that I'm not familiar with the majority of these names. Paul Millsap. This sounds a little familiar. Okay, and then you get Draymond Green, who was the 95th. He was ranked 95th for his recruit. So And that's from 1998 to 2013. So 27% of the 1,563 top-ranked high school players made it to the NBA, and only 25% made it past their 2-year rookie contract. Put another way, 441 of the 900 draft picks in that 15-year span were top 100 recruits. Just 31 players eventually reached superstar status based on advanced statistics, and the details are at the bottom. But perhaps the top 100 is too broad of a categorization. Surely the top 10 players will make it to the NBA more often, right? Okay, well, let's look. All right, so we got the top 10. It's cute that they have it. It kind of looks like basketballs bouncing down. Okay, we got the top 10. Kelvin Torbert, Isaiah Austin, Samardo Samuels. Look, one of these, D'Angelo Collins, he didn't even play college basketball. He was ranked in the top 10 for high school, but he didn't even go on to play college ball. That's crazy. All right. Of the 9 players from the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were drafted. That's 50%. From playing high school to being drafted. One of them spent less than 2 years. So, of the drafted, 80% spent less than 2 years in the NBA. So, players ranked in the top 10 certainly appear to have slightly better odds. A full 84% of them eventually made it to the NBA. Though, with 60 draft picks a year, you might expect that number to be higher. In the late 90s and early 2000s, teams could bet hard enough on a player's future success that they could draft them straight out of high school. This ended in 2006 when a rule was put into place declaring that players had to be at least 19 years old or 1 year removed from high school before getting drafted. But talks are escalating about reversing this rule, especially in the light of the shoe incident. Let's look at, I don't know what the shoe incident is, but that's a link to a YouTube video, so I don't know how appropriate that is. Let's look at the success of the straight to NBA high school players. Okay, I want to replay it. Bam, bam, bam. They went straight to the NBA. This is out of 35 players. All right. 88% were considered below average. They went straight from high school to the NBA. All right, 55% were considered mediocre. 30% were considered great, and 15% were superstars. Okay, we know LeBron. Of course, he's on that list. Rashard Lewis. All right, so opponents of removing the age limit often cite players like Corleone Young as reasons to keep it in place. Young, the number 3 ranked high school player in 1998, ultimately fizzled out of the NBA, having played only 15 minutes across 3 games. However, he appears to be the exception more than the rule. Of the other 34 players drafted straight out of high school, 94% made it past their rookie contract, with 55% eventually becoming mediocre or better NBA players. It sounds, I don't want to be called mediocre. Okay. Unless maybe I'm getting an NBA salary. Then maybe I'll take it. So let's switch our view once more away from the highest ranking high school players to those played in a U.S. high school but did not appear on the top 100 list. We found 338 of these players that were eventually drafted into the NBA despite being undervalued in high school. Let's compare their career paths with our highly ranked and drafted high schoolers. Okay, here we go. I don't want to miss any of it. Stephen Curry? What? Okay. Wow. Paul George? Don't know who that is. Damian Lillard? Mark Gasol? Stephen Curry. I am shocked. The woman was too shocked to speak. Okay, so 100% of the players played in college. They were not ranked in high school. They played in college. 100% of those players were drafted. 100% of those players had less than 2 years in the NBA, or they made it past their rookie contract. 73% were considered below average. 15% were mediocre. 5% were great, and 2% were superstars. So if you look at these numbers, you have the percentages. Okay. You've got the percentages. But also look at the numbers. Now, 31% compared to 31 compared to 7, that's not a great comparison, but 7 compared to 2%. Even when we limit the top-ranked players to just those that were eventually drafted, the success rate of players ranked in high school is notably higher than for those who weren't. Where 92% of the drafted and ranked players made it past their rookie contract, only 73% of the unranked and drafted players stayed more than 2 years. 7 players, Dwayne Wade, Mark Gasol, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, and Damian Lillard, whose high school careers were apparently not worthy of a spot amongst the top 100, still broke into the ranks of superstars in their NBA careers. Let's look at one more slice that has lofty expectations. The Big Four, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, and University of North Carolina, UNC, are known to consistently land the biggest recruits. Do these recruits translate into NBA success stories, or is college their last stop? Okay, let's watch them. All right, so these people, none that were unranked in high school and went to these 4 colleges, one of these 4 colleges made it to superstardom. Okay, so we can see who was a superstar coming from one of these colleges. So they all played in college at either Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, and UNC. All right, but after that, 55% made it past their rookie contract. 54% that made it past were considered below average. 23% were mediocre, 10% were great, and 3% were superstars. The college funnel is an interesting discussion, especially when it surrounds the lack of pay for NCAA student athletes. Below, we widen the field to take a look at the biggest NBA-producing colleges and see how many yield NBA talent. Okay, so 38 student athletes. College drafted less than 3 years, below average, mediocre, great, superstar. So, Kentucky, 5 superstars. Duke University, 0. UNC, 0. University of Florida, 2. Kansas, 0. UCLA, 1. Arizona, 1. Connecticut, 1. Syracuse, 1. Louisville, 0. Superstars. Texas at Austin, 2. Georgia Institute of Technology, 1. Okay, Ohio State, 1. Michigan State, 1. Memphis, 0. Okay, Villanova, 1. Georgetown, 0. University of Alabama, 1. University of Tennessee, 0. North Carolina, 0. Southern California, 0. Florida State, 0. Okay, so the methods, let's talk about the methods of all of this data. High school ranking data is based on the Recruiting Services Consensus Index, RSCI rankings. Data from Basketball Reference, we used a combination of VORP and estimated wins added to determine the level of success in an NBA career, limiting to the mean ranking of each player's top 5 season. Superstar equals top 30, great, top 60, mediocre, top 120, below average is greater than 120. All right, so we have just looked at this story that's told by data. How did the data tell this story? What I got from this is just because you were awesome in high school doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a superstar in the NBA. Okay? So what you're going to do now is hop on over to Schoology, telling a story with data. In this assignment post, you're actually going to be completing this assignment in a Google form. So this Google form looks like this, okay? Telling a story with data. After this activity, you'll be able to explain how views of data can tell a different story, recognize that data is an incomplete record of reality, and describe the limits of measurement, what can and can't be captured in data. So while you're going through this form, you cannot resume this form. All right, so make sure that you complete this in one sitting. Don't close it and don't submit it. Don't exit until you have submitted your responses, okay? And don't submit it until you're done. Don't move on to the next section until you are ready, because you cannot go back. So on this first page, you're going to put your name, your first name and your last name, and then you're going to go on to the next section. And we're going to see how we can tell stories with data. There will also be a short, let me go back, Schoology. So whenever you submit this assignment, I want you to also submit a short paragraph explaining a personal situation where the data told a different story other than what was true. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions.